Hello, aloha, everybody. This is take two. I hope that you can hear me okay. If you can, could you give this video a thumbs up, please? We had a whole bunch. We had like 30-something people on the other live stream, and everything was going super well, but no one could hear me. So I'm hoping you guys can hear me. My name is Athena Moberg. Welcome to weekly live Q&A here at Trauma Recovery University. I show up here every week. Are you in the right place, first of all? This channel is for adult survivors of childhood trauma, specifically childhood sexual abuse or any type of child abuse. And this is a place where everybody comes and hangs out every single week, every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we all support one another. And I answer your questions as it pertains to healing from childhood trauma. And we have globally accessible support groups that are located on another platform for you to receive the support that you deserve. So if that's you, welcome. If this is your very, very, very first time here with us, I just want to say a very special welcome to you. I'm so happy you're here. Normally, this does not happen. Normally, like 7 times out of 10, maybe 6 times out of 10, things go more smoothly and you can actually hear me the first time around. So this is a new link, and hopefully the other link doesn't cause a whole bunch of people a lot of headaches. Let me just check and make sure that my sound is okay. I checked last time and it said that it was, and then no one could hear me, so I'm kind of concerned. I have green lights everywhere, so I don't know. I'm hoping. If you guys can hear me, could you please give this video a thumbs up? And or even, I don't know, maybe in the chat box, let us know if you can hear. That would be awesome. I don't have access to the chat box right now, but I'm just going to go ahead and move forward as though you can hear me, because I'm hoping you can. Oh, yay. Yes, you can hear me. I'm so happy. Okay, so welcome, welcome, welcome. Especially if this is your first time joining us. This is a safe community for adult survivors of childhood trauma, specifically childhood abuse, even more specifically childhood sexual abuse, incest, trafficking, childhood sexual exploitation, any type of abuse in childhood, any type of trauma in childhood. This channel, and specifically this live stream, is a place for you to come and hang out. If you want to go into the YouTube chat box, there are a ton of people over there all supporting one another and introducing one another. And you can go over anonymously if you want. I believe that you can just show up under any YouTube handle. It doesn't have to be like your real name or anything. Or if YouTube's not your thing, you can always go over to Twitter and just type in twitter.com, and then up in the search, type in hashtag or the #, no more shame. No spaces, just the words no more shame. And you will find a conversation thread of all of our community just here to support one another. So that's a little bit about who you probably are, and hopefully if you are here and you're in the right place. And who am I? I'm Athena Moberg. I'm an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse and sexual exploitation. There are a lot of different words, little, buzzwords and vernacular that people can sort of coin it under. There's an incest component, there's a trafficking component, there's exploitation component, abuse, obviously. And I have been on this healing journey and just discovering what it is that I endured and what it is that I'm healing from, probably for about the last 17 years or so. I believe it will be, yeah, it's right around 17 years now. It's April It's April of 2017. So welcome, welcome if this is your first time here. And if you are always here every week, then I'm so happy to see you also, obviously. Thank you so much for being here every week. So every week we come here and we have a different topic. This week's topic is minimization and how denial and minimization is re-traumatizing. And as I had put in the previous chat box on the other video where the audio didn't work, a lot of you had messaged me and just with various questions about feeling re-traumatized all the time. Feeling like everywhere you go, no matter what happens, there's something that reminds you of your abuse, or it feels very similar. Anything from going to a family reunion, to going to a college class, a college course, to going to the doctors and discussing with the doctors, your general practitioner, things that happened that were pertaining to your abuse. And there's a general consensus that sort of goes along with the medical model that doctors really just don't want to hear it unless it pertains to what they're in the room for that specific 6.4 seconds or 6.4 minutes rather, then they don't really want to hear it. I personally experienced something like this. I won't talk about who it was that I went to go see because, well, I don't really want to get some sort of a libel suit slapped on me, defamation of character, but one of the main insurance companies in the United States, one of the big ones, that was who my insurance was from, or that's who my insurance was through. And I was going into an appointment where I was going to have all my clothes removed and be in the room with a doctor, just the two of us. And I had disclosed to the gals at the desk that I would like to have a nurse present in the room. Oh, absolutely, no problem. We completely understand. That's very common. And when I began to discuss my concerns with the doctor that I was seeing, just letting him know the concerns that I had, he told me he didn't want to hear it. It didn't pertain to him, and he would rather I didn't talk about it. And when I mentioned that on a previous video several months back, I got a whole bunch of emails from you guys. And then recently, more emails have been popping up, and tweets and DMs and messages, and even voice messages, SpeakPipe messages. On my website, I have a little button you can push and you can leave a voicemail. So tonight we're going to talk about how minimization and denial can be re-traumatizing for a survivor. And that is if we are minimizing or denying our abuse, or if someone else is minimizing and denying our abuse. So if you remember, recently we did a video on fully accepting the reality of our abuse, and we mentioned in that video that unless we choose to fully accept the reality of our abuse, then we will never truly fully heal, because we're skipping over it and it's always still down there. We're just pressing it down, pressing it down, pressing it down. And when you press things down long enough, sooner or later they're going to spring back up. And usually it's at the most inopportune time, when we're cruising along in life and we're doing relatively well, professionally speaking, relationally, financially even, and then boom, something will explode because we've pressed it down and pressed it down and pressed it down, and even hopped up on it and then stomped it down because we don't want it to come back up. We're just like, okay, we're done with you. You happened a long time ago. We're done. And what happens is you are basically trying to delete the reality. You're saying you don't matter to a part of you. You don't matter. Your reality doesn't matter. Your truth doesn't matter. I don't want to hear it. You're making a big deal out of nothing. All the things that other people say to us that can be very, very minimizing and very re-traumatizing, we can do that to ourselves through denial and minimization. And so I just wanted to open up the discussion tonight to you guys and answer a lot of your questions. There were some really good questions that came in. There were too many questions for me to put up one screen share of all the questions. It would have been, we would have spent the entire night reading through all the questions and all of the comments regarding how minimization and denial can be re-traumatizing for a survivor. So I would love to just open it up to you. If you are here live, it looks like, wow, I have almost 40 of you here. That's amazing. That's awesome. And this is take two, because the first one didn't have audio. So 40 is not bad for take two. Usually people are like, psh, I'm out of here. So I would love to open up the discussion to you guys and answer any of your questions. I shared with you a little bit about how I went to the doctor and I was told that they didn't want to talk about it or hear about it because it didn't pertain to the procedure that he was going to be administering to me that day. And it was very traumatizing, very triggering for me. And when we deny and minimize, it can be very similar to the abuse experience itself. Because oftentimes when children are abused, they don't speak up. And when they do speak up, they're met with ridicule or anger or overreaction or questioning. Like, oh, well, they're just a kid. Like, are they really telling the truth? And there's a great screen share. There are some awesome medical journals. All the research that I had done, you can get lost down the rabbit hole of medical journals. If you type in Google, or even like, I think it's Google Scholar, which is like my favorite. If you type in minimization of childhood maltreatment, you will, like, mind blown. You will have enough to keep you busy for the rest of 2017. So I'm just going to take like a tiny little bullet from one document that I found from a great organization. And that great organization, I don't want to get their name wrong here because I'm plugging them. I'm not affiliated in any way. All confetti and all accolades and all copyright and gratitude and anything good that will come out of this entire broadcast and information should go directly to these wonderful people here over at the ANNAinstitute.org. That's the Anna, A-N-N-A, institute.org. This is an organization that is, it's formerly the Anna Foundation, I believe. And there was a gal who was sexually abused during childhood, and these people have spent their entire lives going through and scouring the after effects. There's some great information on the ACEs study, which we talk about a lot on this YouTube channel. And if you're here visiting us from Roku, thank you for being here, and thank you for all the 5-star reviews. And thank you to YouTube also. You YouTube peeps with all of your thumbs up and your comments and everything are amazing. I'm going to read this to you. This is all about denial, discreditation, ignoring, minimizing, or silencing abuse actually reenacts past trauma. So the first bullet point, professionals don't want to hear about or deal with sexual abuse. This is something I experienced firsthand. It caught my attention, and it was the first bullet point. So I'm like, it's the first bullet point for a reason. I am not the only person who has experienced this. Well, myself and then all the people that have been emailing me since I mentioned that during a video. So and bullet point number 2 really gets to the heart of what it is we're talking about tonight, and that is casting doubt on the validity and seeking to discredit what the survivor says about her or his memories and experience of abuse is extremely traumatizing and is an exact replication of the most painful part of the original childhood abuse experience. Now, there are huge case studies. There's one on this one medical journal. In fact, I'll need to find a link to it and have Harriet put it in the description for you guys. Let me just grab a drink of water really quick. Okay, thanks so much. There is one here. Let me go ahead and I want to look at you guys. I want to look at you in the face. I want to look at you in the face. So there's this one particular medical journal that has there is a questionnaire that was used, and there is actually a case study of close to 17,000 individuals that were sexually abused during childhood. And then there's a follow-up questionnaire where they regulate the denial or minimization of the abuse. And that secondary questionnaire was originally put in place to prove positive that those who report are actually reporting and they're following through and whatever. But what they ended up discovering is individuals that were in fact sexually abused during childhood end up minimizing and or denying their own abuse or someone else's abuse when they're asked again. And that's because there is such a stigma attached to childhood abuse, specifically childhood sexual abuse. So I would love to hear from you now that I've done my screen share. I want to be respectful of your time. Last week we ran really long, and I just want to be very, very, very mindful of your time tonight. So here we go. Kalisha says, I would minimize the abuse by telling myself that in time it won't affect me and that it won't matter, but it has left a mark already. Yes. Oh my gosh, Kalisha. Thank you very much for sharing. It's so true, Kalisha. I told myself the same thing for a really long time. Well, for the longest time, quite honestly, you guys, to be quite honest, I didn't know. Like, I can honestly say that since I wasn't like allowed to ride the bus, and the person who cut my hair when I was a kid was someone in my family. The person who, took me to the doctor or the dentist was someone in my family. I wasn't really allowed to interact with other people that weren't in my family unit. So for the longest time, I didn't realize that what I experienced was in fact not typical. I didn't realize that my life was atypical until much later in my 20s and 30s. But I did tell myself that, I'll get over this. It's going to be totally fine. Yeah, it was bad, but nobody wants to hear about that. Ain't nobody got no time for this, right? Is what I told myself. But me doing that was very re-traumatizing. It was very minimizing. And it was a beautiful state of denial that I lived in for a really long time. And it got me through almost all my 30s. Towards my mid to late 30s, denial and minimization got me through until I had a break with reality. And I had a traumatic break. And I was just not okay. I was holding everything together and just one more thing just burst everything open, and I couldn't pick up the pieces fast enough. I was a mess. And so Kalisha, thank you so much for sharing. You and I have such similar stories. So it's always nice to see you here and to hear you share. And thanks for all of your awesome Instagram skills. You guys got to follow us over on Instagram. Kalisha runs the account called Survivor Community, and she posts up a lot of quotes and helpful memes and encouraging words for those of us who have lived through childhood sexual abuse and other types of child abuse. So there's a little shameless plug. Heroes don't wear capes. Hi. Others, invalidation and diagnosis of things like fictitious disorder lead me to question my own sanity when I was already in a very traumatic situation. Yes. Basically, I'm manipulating the system for attention seeking, and I was faking symptoms even as far as contaminating blood tests. Like, who can do that? I'm sorry. No. The things people come up with is just unbelievable. oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you were minimized like that. And I have the liberty and luxury and privilege of knowing a little bit of backstory on this. And, you know, I will say it again, I will say it again. I highly recommend finding a different helping professional if your helping professional is minimizing or re-traumatizing you through denial and minimization or questioning of the reality. Listed on the Anna Foundation or AnnaInstitute.org, there's a whole study done on the effects of everything that you just described. Heroes don't wear capes. The way that medical professionals question the effects and after effects of abuse and question the validity of a survivor's story, specifically as it relates to their fragmented memories, and they dismiss fragmented memories as psychosis or just like, or false memory syndrome in air quotes, right? Oh my gosh, it's highly traumatizing and can trigger us back to a state where we are having traumatic breaks with reality. I mean, it's just highly traumatizing. And I'm so sorry that for any of you that have lived through that, it's real. It's a real thing that goes on. Again, I can't stress this enough. Go to Google or Google Scholar and type in minimization of childhood maltreatment and look at the number of medical journal articles that are cited under minimization or denial of childhood maltreatment. It's a thing, you guys. It's a thing. Not one doctor or person is able to say that abuse and maltreatment or even neglect during childhood does not affect us in adulthood. 100% across the board. Go to the medical journals, read all the medical journals, Harvard, all of them, everything. Go look it up. It's specifically as it relates to our brain, and even more specifically our amygdala. So you guys, we need to be educating ourselves. Knowledge is power, and we will feel better when we know the effects and the after effects of what we've gone through. We deserve to know. We deserve that. We didn't deserve to be abused, and the least we can do for ourselves is care enough about ourselves to do the research. And next time someone decides to question our reality or our truth, you can confidently say, well, 247 pages of different medical journals were cited on the after effects of childhood abuse, even to one area of my brain, specifically the amygdala. Have you read about that? I mean, I'd love to see Uncle Frank choke on his peas at Thanksgiving when someone tries to make a joke about your abuse or how it happened 20, 30, 40 years ago. And why don't you just get over it by now? Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. I will go off on a tantrum right now, and I just do not want to upset anyone. Good Lord. Thank you for, humoring me as I get onto my soapbox for those little moments. August says, my boss yelled at me and told me I was being ridiculous when it's in the past and that I should get over it. Oh my goodness. That has happened to me in a place of business. That's happened to me at one of my jobs that I had previously. And I can't tell you how traumatizing it was for me to show up for work every day. I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, I was literally in survival mode as I showed up to work every day for months. Excuse me. I just need a drink of water. Okay, thank you. I was literally in survival mode every day as I showed up for work because of something like this. So people just don't get it. They don't understand. And they kind of don't want to, sadly. I'm so sorry that you experienced that, August. You are not alone. Oh my goodness. Joey says, every time I go over to spend time with my family, the topic somehow ends up on my abuse and why I don't just get over it and how it's my fault that I struggle. I don't allow it to leave my, I don't know what the last sentence is supposed to say, but Joey, again, I have the luxury and liberty of knowing a little bit about your story, and I would encourage you to rethink the amount of time that you are spending with your family. Establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries with our family of origin is something that no one likes to do, but if we value our sanity, we will choose to do it. It's not easy, but it's necessary. And I'm so sorry that you are going through that, Joey, because no one should ever be treated the way that your family is treating you. Wow. Hunter, I'm so happy to see you here live. High five, recovery buddy. Not a question, but I feel very re-traumatized because since I have not told and thereby minimize it, I get all of the normal, casual, caring touches that would be avoided if people knew, but I don't. Yeah, you don't want to say something. Oh my goodness. Oh, Hunter, that is a difficult spot that you're in, Hunter, because I can sense that you are afraid to tell, or you are choosing not to tell, perhaps because you have a gut instinct or a gut knowing that your reality might be minimized, and so you're trying to avoid re-traumatization by not bringing it up. But at the same time, not bringing it up, other people are casually touching you in ways that cause you to feel uncomfortable. So it's almost like you're in a catch-22. Like, which is the worst of two evils? Is it not talking, or is it speaking up so that other people will be respectful of your boundaries? Goodness, that is a hard spot to be in. I don't know what advice to give you, Hunter. I know it wasn't a question, so you're not asking for my advice. So I will politely step away. But I will send you safe hugs and high fives, if that's okay. And I'm super, 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 super glad that you're here. And I hope that we can support you just by being here with you. Because I know that there are so many of us out here that are watching, that are hanging out, that are tweeting on Twitter, that are gonna see these memes on Instagram, that are here on YouTube right now, that are on Roku watching this on a replay perhaps, and they are experiencing the same thing. They're stuck in a place where they don't want to bring it up because it was a long time ago, so they don't want to tell because they're afraid, or they have a deep knowing that they will be minimized or questioned. But at the same time, people are touching them, and that's causing them to feel triggered. So thank you for speaking up, because there's someone out there that needed to hear that. They needed to hear that. There's another man just like you, Hunter, who needed to hear that right now. So thanks for being brave and speaking up and sharing your truth with all of us, because I know you're not alone. There are so many more of us. Simi in the house. Simi says, my eldest told a teacher that they thought could be trusted about their abuse. Their response, you just need to get over it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so if I'm getting this straight, Simi, your oldest child trusted a teacher that they thought they could trust, told them about the abuse, and the teacher's response was for your oldest to get over it? Yeah, I would be very upset, and especially because your oldest thought they could trust this teacher. They thought that the teacher was trustworthy, and then to find out that they're not trustworthy, it's like a breach of trust. There's an abandonment going on there. There's a betrayal going on there. There's a confusion. Your oldest might be even shaming themselves because they're probably like, here, I finally got the courage to speak up finally, and then I was told that I just need to get over it. Oh my goodness. Will you please give safe hugs and high fives? And just let your oldest know that I'm thinking of them. Also, will you let your oldest know that I Twitter DM'd them? And I don't know if they got my Twitter DM, but it was probably a week or two ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. Can't remember when, but will you please let them know? Thank you so much. And that's horrible. And it just makes me very, very mama bear angry. Joey says, I was hoping that someone would notice all of the bruises and marks I had on my body and ask me if I was all right because I was afraid to say something, but no one did ask me anything. Oh, Joey. Are you in an abusive situation now, Joey, where someone is abusing you and that's why you have bruises and marks on your body? Or is there a self-harm situation going on? And if so, I really want to encourage you to reach out and get help, the professional help that you deserve, not the help from your loved ones and your family who are minimizing and denying your abuse. You deserve excellent care, and you're going to receive excellent care from places that specialize in self-harm behavior or in abusive situations. So I know that over on the Twitter stream, or even here on YouTube, there are a whole bunch of memes that Poppy has made on how to reach out to the different organizations that specialize in helping with abuse and with self-harm. So, and obviously there are our friends over at RAINN at RAINN.org, which stands for the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network, which I know you already know. But there's also there's suicide hotlines, there's self-harm hotlines, there's even the text ones where you can text. Over on my Facebook page, I think just on my Facebook wall, on my personal page, I know we're friends on Facebook, you'll see somebody put some, it was Destiny. Destiny posted some text hotlines on my Facebook wall. So please check those out, Joey, because you deserve the help. You deserve excellent care, and you're not going to get that from your family, and I think that they've proved that over time. I'm angry and heartbroken. Song Warriors says, mental health has not been taken seriously by doctors for years. If the patient is not sick physically, they cannot see it. Yes. And Song Warriors happens to be someone who works in the medical industry. And it's true. And I believe, personally, I feel the medical model is broken. And we need to take a trauma-informed approach with anyone who's survived trauma. And we talk a lot about a trauma-informed approach here on this channel. So you guys remember what trauma-informed care is, right? We have in the left hand and in the right hand, or I guess if you're looking, I don't know, maybe this is your left and this is your right if you're watching me. I'm not 100% sure. But in one hand, we have your trauma that happened a long time ago, either in childhood or at whatever point your trauma happened. And then in this hand, we have all of your maladaptive coping strategies and maladaptive behaviors that have come along and become a part of you as a result of trying to numb stuff or avoid the feelings and the pain of this trauma. And so we want to approach these maladaptive behaviors and coping strategies while always keeping in mind this root trauma, because it's the reason that all of these came to be. Trauma-informed care, trauma-informed approach. This is what I'm very passionate about right here, right here. And you deserve trauma-informed care, healthy, informed, trauma-informed care. Oh my goodness. Thank you for chiming in there, Song Warriors, and just validating the feelings I have about just the medical model, and just how doctors view their patients. If their patients aren't physically sick, they just can't see it. Jenna, hi Jenna. Jenna says, my father told me that my sexual abuse couldn't have been that bad. It didn't make a lesbian. It couldn't have been that bad. It didn't make a lesbian. How stupid. Yeah, I agree. That is that's an ignorant statement. I want to make sure I'm understanding this, Jenna. Is your father insinuating that just because I am not choosing to live a lesbian lifestyle, that my sexual abuse that I incurred during childhood wasn't that bad. Really? So my permanent brain damage isn't that bad? And autoimmune disease, exaggerated startle response, stress-related illnesses, such as cancer and other things that attack the body, those things are not that bad because I'm not a lesbian. I'm not choosing to live a lesbian lifestyle right now? Huh. Wow. Yeah, that's an ignorant statement. And I will save my comments because it's not my family and I just don't have anything nice to say about that man right now. And so I'm not going to say anything. But wow, I'm sorry that you were minimized in that way, Jenna, because I'll tell you that if you were sexually abused, it was bad. Because sexual abuse is bad, as in not good. Wow. August says, and by the way, Jenna, I'm so happy you're here and I'm so sorry that you were treated this way and that there is such an air of ignorance that is coming through in the tone of whatever is being said to you. It's just heartbreaking, honestly, and angering. August says, my psychiatrist told me that when having a flashback, I should try harder to be logical. Yeah, flashbacks are the antithesis of logic. When you're having a flashback, Mr. Psychiatrist, you don't know that you're in the here and now present in 2017, sitting in a room, recording a video on YouTube. If I were in a flashback right now, I wouldn't realize that I was here and now. I would be flashing back, hence the word flashback. Wow, sarcasm much? I'm rather sarcastic tonight, you guys. I'm going to get a lot of nasty grams. I'm going to get some hate mail because I'm being sarcastic. I always get hate mail when I'm sarcastic. Dang it. But hey, wow. August, please find a different psychiatrist that has a trauma-informed approach because you deserve that. And I'm in awe of the ignorance of some medical professionals and mental health professionals. Okay, I'm going to move on because, man, Steph Anderson. Hi, Steph. Do you think that because we do not live in denial, it has helped us become more empathetic and honest? Yes. Yes, 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 I do. When we choose to not live in denial, when we choose to find ways to accept the reality of what it is that we've lived through, then we do see the world from a compassionate perspective, sympathetic and empathetic. We're able to empathize because we've been there, and we are sympathetic and compassionate because we have a heart and we want to help others and we want to help others get through what we've been through. So I absolutely say yes, yes, yes. Yes, Steph, I do think that. I would agree wholeheartedly. Hunter says, Athena, even though using your voice eventually reduces shame, do you think the toxic judgment wave of telling paired with my internal shame already present could grow to toxic levels? Hunter, I will only give you my personal opinion. Please do what you feel is right because I trust you implicitly to know what you need. Each person knows what they need. Every single person's recovery journey is theirs and theirs alone. There's no two people that have the exact same recovery journey. What is good for you may not be that good for me. And what is good for them may not be that good for them. So what is good for you, Hunter, may not necessarily be good for me. And what I'm about ready to tell you, which is what I would recommend, may not be good for you. So there's my disclaimer. In my experience, Hunter, of myself, my personal experience, and the experience of the clients that I've had the privilege of working with, most of the time, the fear of speaking up is worse than the actual, as you call it, toxic judgment wave. Our fear of being judged is usually bigger than the judgment that we actually receive. And that might not always be the case. I don't know your family. I'm not living your situation firsthand the way you are. I trust that you know exactly what to do because you're wise. You're very wise. You're more wise than you know you are. You are a very wise man. And if it were me, and my direct answer is no, I don't think that the toxic judgment wave of telling paired with your internal shame will grow to toxic levels. And if it does grow to toxic levels and you're experiencing toxic shame, we know how to get through toxic shame. We can combat toxic shame. We can work on toxic shame. Right now we're dealing with an unknown. So there's a fear level attached to an unknown. But if you speak up and you tell and you risk being judged and then you end up being judged and then you shame yourself even more and it ends up being toxic shame, then we know what we're dealing with. We're dealing with toxic shame. But right now we're dealing with variables and we don't know the value of the variables. I hope that helps. I know that it doesn't feel like I helped you at all, but I'm hoping that my opinion helps. My opinion is that speaking up and being truthful is always better. Even if you are minimized and denied like I was and like so many others, there is a certain liberty and freedom in knowing that you spoke your truth. And other people choose to be ignorant and they choose to shame or to do the things that they're doing. That's like here in Hawaii, we say that's their kuleana. That's their kuleana. That's not mine. Like that's their responsibility. They have to live with that. And you deserve to have your voice heard. That's my opinion. And I hope that helps, Hunter. But you are a wise man and I think you know what you're doing. So you do what you want to do because I trust you. AKA Minute Maid, I decided that I cannot trust anyone at my school because of this teacher. Yes, so AKA Minute Maid is the oldest child of Simi, and Simi is the one who talked earlier and said my oldest told a teacher who they thought they could trust. And the teacher said, you just need to get over it. So yeah, AKA Minute Maid, I would say that it's natural for you to feel that you cannot trust anyone at your school. However, that one particular teacher is not the mouthpiece for every single person at the school. I'm assuming that there are dozens, if not hundreds, maybe even thousands of people at the school. I don't know the size of your town, perhaps only dozens or hundreds. I think it's a smaller town. But there's a high likelihood that that particular teacher is not the mouthpiece, nor do they hold the opinions and perspectives of every single person at the school. But, you know, do what you feel is right. Again, you are very wise, and I think you should do, if you don't feel that you can trust anyone, then don't. But just know that here is a safe place, and we love you, and we accept you just as you are, and we're glad that you're here and that you've shared your truth with us. Allie says, I have never been severely triggered the way I was after watching 13 Reasons Why. I didn't realize that there was a graphic rape scene, but after sharing with my friend that it was hard for me and I couldn't sleep, she laughed. I'm not mad, but I do wish my friend understood. You know what, Allie? I don't know the particular movie that you are referring to right now, but I experienced something very, very, very similar. I've shared this briefly on this channel, and it caused a wave of emails to come in. And I want to let you all know before I share this right now, especially as I share this with you personally, Allie, because I don't think you were here when I shared this a couple of years ago. But my husband who is a wonderful man, who loves me very much, who wants to be as supportive as possible, and is probably my biggest fan. He, when finding out, oh, my nose is running and I feel like I'm getting like a scratchy throat again. Oh my goodness. Every single Monday, right, you guys? So my husband, when realizing and hearing that I live with PTSD, in an effort to normalize the situation and sort of get me to talk about other things, he made light of it. He made light of my PTSD. So he would come out of the water when we were in Minnesota and he would say, wow, I have post-traumatic lake relaxation syndrome. Or I have, post-traumatic golf syndrome. I went and played, 18 holes of golf, and like he wanted to like fit in with the vernacular I was using, and he wanted to sort of normalize my experience so that I wouldn't feel so alone. And in doing so, he made things worse because A, I thought he was an ignorant asshole at the time. And B, I was so triggered that I was projecting my abusers onto my husband. And I thought he was doing what they did, which was trying to hurt me on purpose. I then told my husband that he was an ignorant asshole. Not my best moment. And that he was trying to hurt me on purpose, just to inflict pain on me, just for fun. Which would infer that he's a sociopath, and he's not, because sociopaths have no conscience and they inflict pain on people just for funsies because they have no conscience. And my husband is not any of those things that I said. He's not an ignorant asshole. He was not trying to hurt me on purpose just for fun, and he's not a sociopath. So, but I was in a triggered state. I was highly triggered by the fact that I felt he was minimizing my reality and being very unkind. He could not for the life of him understand where I was coming from. I had to break it down for him in as simple a way as I possibly could. And Allie, I hope that I'm not triggering you by sharing this, but it's close to, I'm trying to tag on the friend of yours that laughed when you shared with her why you couldn't sleep. I think you said you couldn't sleep. Yeah, you couldn't sleep, and your friend laughed. So, yeah. So I hope that I'm not triggering you by sharing this story about my husband, and I'll be very brief and I'll finish. But I had to break it down for my husband. And Allie, I don't know if you can break this down for your friend, because sometimes we have to break things down in ways people can understand. There's a guy that came and spoke at our church a few times. His name's Nick. He has no arms and no legs. He was born with no arms and no legs. So he comes and he hangs out at our church and he speaks. He's spoken a few times, and we've seen him speak at other conferences and so forth. And we're part of, a fundraiser for the foundation that he has for, it's called Life Without Limbs. But I had to sit down with my husband and I had to say, if you were hanging out with Nick, now mind you, Nick is a little guy with no arms and no legs. Okay? No arms and no legs. Dude was born with no arms and no legs. Would you be hanging out with Nick and start making like paraplegic jokes? Quadriplegic jokes? Jokes about like stubby and nubby and like how, jokes about him not having no arms and no legs? And my husband's look on his face could only be described as one of horror. He was horrified that I would ask him such a thing. And that illustrated to my husband what it was like for him to make fun of my PTSD and what a serious thing it is. And he was ignorant. He wasn't an ignorant asshole, which is what I called him, and I feel bad for calling him that. He forgave me. I apologized. But he was ignorant. Ignorant in the sense of not knowing, like truly not knowing, not like being mean on purpose. Big difference. Big difference between being mean on purpose and just not knowing. So being ignorant and being an ignorant asshole are two totally different things. And my husband was ignorant, but he was not an ignorant asshole. So your friend who laughed at you might be an ignorant asshole or just ignorant. And maybe if you broke it down for them, if the time was right, you could have favorable results the way I did with my husband. Because since then, he hasn't done that. Which is good. Because then I would be forced to tell him that he really is an ignorant asshole. And then I'd probably have to apologize again. So, but it did help for me to break it down in terms that he could understand. And I hope that's helpful for you, Allie. And I'm so happy that you spoke up and shared with us here today, because someone out there needed to hear that. Big time. Charlie says, I think that's why I don't reach out to anyone. I got tired of hearing, oh, just get over it. Yes. You guys, thank you, Charlie, for saying this. So many of us believe what other people say about us more than we believe ourselves. I'm going to say that again. That bears repeating. So many of us in this community, like our peeps, like us, our family, all of us, so many of us believe what other people say about us more than we believe ourselves. And what I mean by that is other people over there say things to us about ourselves, and there's no filter here. We just let it come in and we let it dwell inside of us. And then inside of us, we already have the truth. We know what the truth is. We know the truth about ourselves. And if not, we need to learn it. And we believe what other people say more than we believe ourselves. And that is a big mistake, because you need to be your own advocate. You need to read the books. You need to learn about what happened to you. You need to learn how it affected your brain. You need to be here on Monday nights learning about the books and how it affects your brain and what's going on with you. If you don't have time to do it any other time, then come here and I'll teach you. But you're going to need to do the work, and you're going to need, all of us are going to need to learn about ourselves and what it is that we've been through and how it affects us, so that we know the truth, so that when other people try to put their crap out onto us and they try to say things like, just get over it, we know to consider the source. Because I was like Charlie for like 30 years, almost 40 years. And I just didn't reach out. Why would I? Because every single person just gave me the same answer, and that was just to get over it, or that didn't really happen, or what are you even talking about, or how long ago was that? Until I started actually doing the research, and I actually started learning what needed to be learned about what really happened to me and how it affected me. And Charlie, I am so happy you're here, and I hope that you continue to keep coming back. I see you here a lot, and I know you have some friends here in our community, and I hope that this is a place where you feel valid and you feel safe and you can listen to the truth about yourself, so that when other people say to you things like, just get over it, you know that that's not really the truth, and that's not really helpful advice. It's not helpful. They're not helping you. We will help you here. We will love you here. We will accept you here. We will believe you here. And we will never tell you to just get over it. This is a safe place for you all to come, where no one is ever going to tell you to just get over it. If they do, whoop, they get booted out. Gone. Not allowed. Pow, mucky, gone. So, Charlie, it pains me and makes me pretty angry that people are saying that to you. I'm hoping that you will begin to learn over time here with us that them saying that is not a reflection of you. It is a reflection of them and their own ignorance. And no one here will ever tell you to just get over it. Because guess what? Trauma is not something we just get over, especially trauma from childhood abuse, especially childhood sexual abuse. No one just gets over that. It's not how it works. So you are validated here, Charlie, and you are loved here. And those people, they need to just walk away. So anybody who says just get over it, you tell them to just walk away. And you know, it's a very lonely place for us sometimes. We're so sick of telling people to just walk away, or we're afraid to speak up because we're afraid to be alone because we've been alone our whole lives. But you know, in this community, you will never be alone ever, 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 never, ever, ever again, because there are a lot of us, and we'll be here every week. I've been here every week for 3 years, and I'm going to continue to be here every week. Steph Anderson says, personally, when my friends, who are my family now, found out, it was the first time I felt true freedom. I have no shame about my abuse or circumstance now. Yeah, that's a big ol' high five, Steph. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. I experienced something very, very similar. So I love it here. Simi wanted to say, we are grateful for the live stream and all we have learned as a result. Thank you. Also, Simi wrote an email to that teacher. It's an off-campus church education teacher who really should know better. Yeah, that teacher should know better, and I'm glad you wrote an email. Go you, Mama Bear. Boy, they should be super glad they didn't get an email from me. And if I know you, Simi, which I do, I wouldn't want to be that teacher because I'm sure you gave them a piece of your mind, as you should. Kira, hi Kira. Kira says, my dad, in parentheses, my abuser, was also my minimizer. Yeah, I had some of that going on too. He would say, you're too sensitive. You should check yourself into a hospital. Normal people don't fill in the blank. Kira, first of all, I'm sorry that you experienced that. Secondly, you're not alone, because I experienced some of that as well. I remember telling my dad for like the third, fourth, or fifth time, and he was sitting next to me in the car as I was driving, and I remember him saying, wow, I wish you would have told me sooner. I would have kicked his ass. And I looked over at him while I was driving, and I was like, I did tell you sooner, and you did nothing. And he was quiet. He didn't have anything to say to me. That was like the end of the topic. It was the end of the discussion. It was so painful for me because it was like, yeah, you should have kicked his ass. And you didn't. Like, you did nothing. You kept bringing me back and dropping me back off. It's like, anyway, I've written some about that. I've actually written a lot about that lately, because I'm sure my dad had like a tremendous amount of guilt, you know, because I mean, he wasn't a horrible man. He was a decent human being, and, you know, he was raised in an abusive environment as well. And, you know, I mean, definitely not minimizing my experience by saying that my dad, like, you know, did the best he could. You know how sometimes we do that, how we're like, well, my parents did the best they could. They were abused too, so they didn't know how to raise a child in the right way because they were abused, and so it's not their fault. You know, they just did the best they could. And, you know, I'm using that sarcastic, horrible voice because, you know, sometimes we minimize our own reality and our own truth and our own existence and everything, and we minimize our own right to validation, because we deserve to be validated for our truth, right? Just by shifting straight from, we feel a little bit frustrated and angry about what happened to us, but we shift immediately to compassion. I did a video on that previously, where you shift immediately from anger to compassion, like confusion to compassion. Actually, you're confused, like, why didn't they do something about it? And then you go, well, they didn't know any better. And we skip right over the anger part of it. So that's not what I'm doing right now when I'm talking about my dad, because I've processed a whole lot of anger. But like, the reality is he probably lived with a lot of guilt and it was really heartbreaking, and he didn't really have the wherewithal to talk and, like, you know, have an intelligent, emotional conversation with me. I get it. Like, I get it. I get it. I get it. He died a few years ago. Here, like, while I was on this channel recording videos, and, you know, I've just had like a hard time dealing with all of that because, you know, he allowed me to continue to be abused, and like, he has to live with that. Well, now he doesn't because he's dead. But, you know, he had to live with that. And that must have been like super heavy for him to live with for all those years. So that's hard. I'm still angry about it though. Like, I'm still feeling all my feels. I'm still walking my talk, you guys. I'm still in touch with all of my feels. I just don't let the anger, you know, take the front seat anymore. The anger is kind of in the back seat because the anger got a front seat for a really long time. Now I'm sort of like, okay, well, he did the best he could, and like, it really sucks. But, you know, Kira, you deserve to have somebody tell you that they believe you and that you didn't deserve to be abused. And if no one's ever told you, Kira, that you're not too sensitive, I want to tell you that you're not too sensitive. I want to tell you that you're great just the way you are. And if no one's ever told you, Kira, that you don't need to check yourself into a hospital because normal people don't fill in the blank, then I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you that you don't need to check yourself into a hospital, Kira. You just need to heal. You need to be here surrounded by people who love you unconditionally, who just exist simply to validate your truth and your experience. And, you know, this YouTube channel is a lived experience perspective. Childhood abuse, childhood sexual abuse, and a place where you can receive validation and love unconditionally. So if you've never received unconditional love and validation in any other place, I hope that you're receiving it here because you deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve a lot. You deserve it. And I'm so sorry that your dad did that. Not only did he abuse you, but he minimized it and denied it, which is typical abuser behavior, but still, it breaks my heart that you experienced that, Kira. Thank you for sharing. John Harvey. Hey, John. I love that there are so many men here tonight, you guys. There are a lot of men here tonight. I'm so happy. So John Harvey says, does anyone else feel afraid to tell anyone because you fear for being teased for being gay? Not that there's anything wrong with that, of course. Yeah, John, I know a lot of people in our LGBTQ community, a lot of them didn't speak up and talk about their abuse because they were afraid for being teased. They were afraid for not only being teased because they were homosexual, but they were afraid of being teased because not only are they living a homosexual lifestyle, but on top of that, like, they have all this baggage from their childhood because they were sexually abused. And then it opens them up to like, well, that's probably why. And, you know, I know a lot of people in our LGBTQ community have struggled with disclosing their abuse. In fact, there's one person who's not really very active in our community, but is definitely sort of on the fringe a little bit, but was pretty active there for a while. They finally reported after a really long time. Like, even though the statute of limitations was up and there wasn't going to be any type of a court case or anything, they chose to make a police report because they wanted to speak their truth and have someone listen and write it down. And I applaud that person for doing that. It takes a lot of courage to speak up. So, John, you're not alone. I know there are a lot of people who are afraid of not only being minimized and denied their truth, but they're afraid of being minimized and mistreated and bullied because of their sexual preference, their sexual orientation. So you are loved here, John, regardless of whether you're gay or straight or black or white or brown or purple or anything. Like, you're loved here. And I love having you in our groups, and I love just hearing your wisdom and your heart, and I'm just super glad that you're part of our community. So I hope that you're watching so that you can hear me say those words to you. And if not, then I will try to remember to tell you them in our groups, over in our group. Avery Johns. Hi, Avery. I don't know if I have ever said hi to you before, but welcome. I'm super happy you're here. And Avery says, is it common for adult survivors of child abuse to be physically uncomfortable around other adults? I feel so uncomfortable around most adults, especially my husband's parents. You know what? It's so interesting, Avery, that you bring this up. I literally just yesterday on Sunday received a message from someone along the same lines. Like maybe it was from you actually. Maybe the message was from you. I'm not, maybe it was. But anyway, no, it's not uncommon. Is it common? Yes, it's common. Yes, it's common. And there's a reason for this. There's Harriet, if you could pop up a YouTube card on the video on cognitive dissonance, that would be amazing. And then link it down below in the description. Dissonance plays a role in this, Avery. If you're not familiar with cognitive dissonance, please Google that. And, you know, there is some depersonalization and some dissociation that goes on in an abuse survivor's life when someone is abused during childhood, and then here they find themselves an adult and they're living in an adult world, but like they kind of are really feeling shocked and in awe of the fact that they're like adulting. Like, wow, I am here and I'm around all of these adults. And what's happening here, Avery, is many adults who are survivors of childhood abuse, who haven't done their work, who haven't worked on their trauma and gone through some sort of a healing or recovery journey, they are triggered into child mode. And when you're triggered into child mode, you are literally, for all intents and purposes, a child stuck in an adult's body, hanging out with other adults, relating to other adults as though you're a child. I know that's a lot to put together, but please look up cognitive dissonance and click on the YouTube card or down below, or search my channel, our YouTube channel, Trauma Recovery University. There is a video called Cognitive Dissonance, or you can just search YouTube for cognitive dissonance and you might find some other great YouTubers that made videos about cognitive dissonance. And I encourage you to support channels. In fact, find Katie Morton. Where are my Kenyans? Kenyans in the house. K-A-T-I-M-O-R-T-O-N, Katie Morton. Look for her on YouTube, and she might have a couple videos on the topic as well. But it is common. It is something that happens a lot, usually when you are triggered into child mode because you feel like you are a child hanging around other adults and you feel very, very intimidated by them and very awkward around them, and you're like not able to really relate to them, and you feel almost like frozen in time sometimes. So hopefully that helps, Avery. Let me know if, oops, there's a little gnat in here somehow. Let me know if that helps, Avery. I hope it is. Duplicity Dispeller says, hi, Duplicity Dispeller. I don't know if I've ever welcomed you, but welcome. Duplicity Dispeller says, with time, I learned to expect invalidation. I safeguard against it and stand firm as much as possible and learn to build bridges as much as possible. The knowledge is not out there. The knowledge is not out there. I think what Duplicity Dispeller is saying, that they are used to being invalidated and they have their walls up, they're sort of safeguarding against it because the knowledge isn't really out there for people to understand what it is that we have been through. And while I support and validate your perspective, Duplicity Dispeller, I disagree with giving everyone out there a free pass, because in this age, this era of information that we live in, there's really no excuse for anyone to not have at least a little bit of knowledge about stuff. I don't know. I suppose maybe you're not talking about like a helping professional. Maybe you're talking about just normal everyday people, which are kind of like my poor husband, who I thought was an ignorant asshole when really he wasn't. He was just ignorant. He just didn't know any better. So yeah, I think I would tend to agree. I would tend to agree. The knowledge isn't always out there for the knowledge is not always out there. Yeah, the knowledge is not always out there for people, you know, staring them down like blinking light, like, hey, click on me. I'm valuable information for you. You have a wife at home that's dealing with PTSD. You need to click here so that you don't trigger her and make her life miserable. Click here, click here. Like, yeah, you're right. The knowledge isn't always like readily available for everybody unless they're looking for it. And sometimes people don't even know what to look for. So, like, yeah, I give some people like a free pass, but like I definitely don't give helping professionals a free pass because hello, the day and age that we live in, helping professionals need to know what it is that they're dealing with. Like a couple people in our community, like August, for instance, has a psychiatrist who says, when you're having a flashback, August, try being more logical. Like, I'm in a flashback. What part of that did you not get? Like, there's no being logical in the middle of a flashback. So, yeah. If it's a normal everyday person, duplicity dispeller, then yes. High five. I agree with you. But if it's a helping professional, no free pass for them. They need to do their homework. Heroes Don't Wear Capes says, I was charged with making a false statement in court. My rapist sat there laughing as the judge was sentencing. The legal system has stained my life with invalidation. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's hugely invalidating and triggering. Heroes don't wear capes. I remember you sharing that with me previously, and I just was so grieved and angered to hear that you were treated that way, because you don't deserve to be treated that way. And it's just heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. So I'm so sorry that you went through that. I'm very, very, very sorry that you went through that. And I'm hoping that you will stay here in our community so you can receive the validation and the love that you deserve. Yeah. I think that's all for questions, you guys. Oh my goodness. Well, I did the screen share a little bit earlier, so I don't have another screen share for you. So I'm definitely on time tonight. I'm so, 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 so happy that you guys chose to be here. Again, I want to encourage you, down in the description section of this video, there is a link to the Anna Institute, THEANNA Institute, formerly the Anna Foundation, I believe. And I would encourage you to just look at their resources. Their website hasn't been updated for quite some time, but there's some great information there. And just go on Google Scholar, you guys. Go on even just regular Google, google.com. And then in the little box that pops up on google.com, type in minimization and denial of childhood maltreatment. And just read through some of the medical journals on the effects of minimization and denial. Our brain can't handle that. Our brain, not only can our brain not handle the fact that we were abused as children, but our brain cannot handle us continuing to deny our truth, and our brain can't handle everyone else denying our truth. We must speak up and we must educate ourselves so that we know the truth about us, and we know the truth about what we've lived through. We know the truth about the effects and the after effects of what it is that we've gone through, so that we can know the truth. And when other people try to say things to us and spew their ignorance all over us, or just their lack of information, we will have firm ground to stand on. And we will know what we've been through, and we will know that the things they're saying are not the truth. It's just their perspective. And when we know that something that someone is saying to us is not the truth and it's just their perspective, it really helps us, and it helps us to not re-traumatize ourselves. I really want to encourage you to not minimize or deny your truth any longer. I want to encourage you to embrace what it is that happened to you and know that it does not define you. Because even if you have lived through childhood abuse, incest, trafficking, exploitation, multiple domestic violence situations, rapes, all kinds of situations, and you've placed yourself in situations that were not wise, which resulted in you being re-traumatized or re-victimized. Even if you've survived all of those things, I promise you that there's healing. Okay? I promise you that there is healing and that there's hope. And we just need to love ourselves and care enough about ourselves to search out the information and to find out the truth, so that we can receive the validation and the love and the patience and the care that we really deserve. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. My apologies for the sound not working in the other video. I will hopefully have Harriet delete that that video from our channel, or I'll go over and I'll delete that video from our channel. So this is the one that shows up. And there are some really helpful links down below in the description section of this video. Please come back again next week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday. And please visit our About section of our YouTube channel if you would like to get plugged in with other survivors so that you feel less alone. But it's a privilege to be here with you guys. It's a privilege to serve this community. And I consider it an honor to be walking beside you on this journey. So I love hanging out with you. I did receive all of your emails regarding the food issues. More discussion on food issues, Athena. Please, yes, set up a group for food issues. And I did receive all of your emails regarding the mental health mornings and the beach walks, walking by the ocean. And I also have been receiving some emails from a few of you. Previously, I got a ton, and then for a while I received none, and then all of a sudden I got a couple more. Many of you wondering if I would make some videos for the adult survivors of childhood abuse, childhood sexual abuse out there here on our YouTube channel, who happen to also be Christians, who are who want me to share Bible verses or a time of prayer. And I think, yes, I would like to do that. I would definitely consider doing that. And I will likely do separate videos, because there are so many people in our community that are easily triggered by any discussion of God or Jesus or the Bible because of religious abuse. So out of respect and consideration for the rest of our community, I will likely separate those videos and not add them on during our weekly Q&A live streams. But I would like to do more videos. I would love to pray with you. I would love to share scripture with you. I get asked all the time how it is that I'm doing okay, and you didn't complete your suicide attempts, and how is it that you're even halfway sane now, Athena? I love that they ask how I'm halfway sane, like they can tell I'm not all the way there. And I just usually will tell them that I'm rock solid in my faith, and I really feel that God like supernaturally intervened in my life and didn't allow me to kill myself because I was supposed to do other things, like be here with you guys and share hope and healing. So thank you for all of your voice messages. Thank you for all of your emails. If you have a topic suggestion for this channel, please email. In the subject line of an email, put topic suggestion and email nomoreshameproject@gmail.com and let me know what you would like me to share, what topic you would like me to share on, do research on, help you with. I would love to do that. And I will continue to show up here every single week and answer your questions. And I am in, like I said last week, I'm in the middle of a transition. I'm in a temporary home right now for a few weeks until I move into a different place for about a year, and then I'm not really sure what I'm doing then, but it's kind of exciting to not know where you're going and what you're doing. I'm embracing it. At first it was very triggering and then I decided to embrace it. So thanks for being with me on this journey. I look forward to being with you guys much more. More videos. Couple things. If you want to be notified when I upload videos, especially if I start to do like the beach walk videos or I start to do the food videos, if you don't want to miss, like sometimes it won't be on Mondays. Sometimes it won't be on Mondays. Like it won't be Mondays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right? Like I'll be uploading different videos. Next to the subscribe button on the YouTube channel, right below, there is a little bell. And if you click the little bell, it'll say you want notifications. And you can unclick the bell anytime. But if you want to test it out, click the bell. And the bell will tell you whenever I upload a video. It'll send you an email. I'm trying to figure out a way to have you guys get like text messages like, hey, I'm about ready to go live. And then you guys will get the text message and you'll be like, oh, Athena's going to go live. And you're like at work, so you're not really able to see it live. But at least you're like, remember, like, oh, when I get off work, while I'm driving home, I can click play and listen to Athena yak on because she's going live in a couple minutes. So I'm finding out a way for you guys to get text messages, it only works in America and Canada. So that's the only hard part about it, because there are so many of you in other countries. So I'm getting emails from, there's someone from Bangladesh, Ireland, New Zealand. I got someone from Egypt, from Cairo the other day. Costa Rica. It's all these different places. And someone was from Asia the other day. They're not Singapore, but Shanghai, China. They messaged me, and I think they used Google Translate because it was like a little bit jumbled, like the English was jumbled. But anyway, that's why I haven't done text messaging, because it only works in America and Canada. But if you want to get notifications when I go live, just click the bell. I mean, I make one video a week. You're not going to get loaded up with text messages or emails. Like, you just won't. But if you click the bell, there will be an email that goes to you that says, Athena's going to go live. And it'll have like a little red dot. It'll have a little red dot in the subject line of the email. It'll say Athena, or it'll say Trauma Recovery University is going to go live. So anyway, that's it for me this week. If this video has been helpful for you, could you please give it a thumbs up? Because the more thumbs up that we get, then the higher we go in search, and the more survivors get the support they deserve. And that makes me really, really happy. So selfishly, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give it a thumbs down. But I would love you to give it a thumbs up. And I would love other people to know when we're going live, and I would love for them to receive the resources that they deserve. So My name is Athena Moberg, and I am so excited that you spent this time with us tonight. Please come back next Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, where we will all hang out and I will answer your questions on how to feel better and break the cycle of childhood abuse in your family system, or, you know, just, I love helping you break the cycle of all dysfunction. So establishing healthy boundaries, learning about safe people, just feeling better overall. Food issues, like how to help your body heal. You know, I love that. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited that you chose to spend this time with us, and I will see you next Monday, if not sooner. Click the little bell next to the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Bye, everybody.